What do you know? What do you know? How y'all doing today? So I figured I'd come back and give y'all another little video. Had a little something on my mind, thought I'd discuss. The other day, I had a pretty long day. And I'll just be honest, they're all long days, but this was a longer day than most. And mainly just because things didn't go as planned. Which happens quite often out here, actually. I mean, not quite often, but it does happen, though. So you kind of got to be prepared for it. I always try to give myself a little buffer, a little extra time here and there. But this one day, it just seemed like nothing went as planned. Nothing went the way I wanted it to. So I had picked up a load in Texas and took to Pennsylvania. And I parked up about 40 miles from my receiver. I had a drop-in hook at the receiver. And so, actually, let me just back up. Let me tell you what the plan was first, and then we'll get to how everything went wrong. So, the plan was to park up 40 miles from the receiver. And then from there, I was going to get up at like 3 a.m. Eastern time, because the load that I had scheduled after this one, I picked up and was going to go up to New Hampshire. And anybody that runs up in the Northeast knows how parking is up there. Like, you kind of got to get where you're going to get early. So, my plan was I would get up at 3 a.m. in the morning, go do my drop-in hook that I was 40 miles from, and then I had another load scheduled to pick up that was, I think, 52 or 53 miles away from where I was dropping off at. The pickup was also a drop-in hook. So you would think relatively easy, drop-in hook at one place, drop-in hook at another, and then make my way up to New Hampshire. So the plan was, once I picked up, I was going to stop on I-84 just as soon as I got, I think it's mile marker 1 in Jersey. I can't remember exact. I think that's what it is. There's a pilot there right on the New York, New Jersey line. And it generally, for Pilot and Flying J, which is where Schneider's discounts are at, that location generally is a few cents cheaper than all the other locations up there. So I was going to stop there, get enough, buy like 50 gallons of fuel, just enough to get me up there and get me back out. And then from there, I was going to run to there's a rest area on I-93 when you're coming out of Boston, going up into Salem, New Hampshire, which is where I was delivering at, Salem, New Hampshire. I was going to get there and be parked there by like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And my appointment time in Salem was 6 a.m. in the morning. So then I would only be a couple of miles from my delivery point, be there by 6 a.m., no problems. So I thought. So I get to my first receiver. So this is what actually happens. I park up 40 miles from my receiver. I get to the receiver and do my drop, drive around, and all of a sudden the dreaded no trailer situation pops up. There's no empties. Now, this has only happened to me one other time, and coincidentally, it was in Pennsylvania also. So, I do drop-in hooks all the time, but for some reason, I don't know what it is about Pennsylvania. I don't know. I mean, if anybody else drives for Schneider and this is an issue with them, like, somebody else, put in the comments below. Like, is it just a Pennsylvania thing or something? Because the only time I've ever had this issue has been in Pennsylvania. So, no trailers. So, now I got to do the whole empty trailer search, because I have to have an empty to go do my drop and hook at the next shipper that I'm going to. So, I wait for trailer management or whatever they call them to send me a location to go look for another one. Well, something that's very frustrating with their system is the next location that they sent me was the exact same location that I was at. It just shows sometimes locations have multiple addresses. So they send me the exact same location again. So, and this time they've assigned me a trailer to find. Well, coincidentally, where I'm sitting at, I'm facing the trailer that they send me. So just to be on the safe side, I get out of my truck and walk over and confirm that there is a seal on the door of this trailer. So I know that this trailer is loaded. I can't take it. So I walk back, I send the message again, no empties. So now they send me somewhere else. They send me to another DC. So I go to this DC. The guard shack tells me no empties, wants me to turn, won't even let me on the yard, has me turn around and pull back out of their yard. So I can't even go in and look for an empty. So he just tells me no empties, spins me around, sends me back out. So now I'm sitting on the side of the road, send my message, no empties. They send me a message back telling me, basically they assign me a trailer to go find at the same location that I'm at. I send them back another message saying, no empties. I mean, what more? I mean, how many times do I got to say it? There's no empties here. So anyway, then they send me somewhere else. So once I get to this other DC, I finally find an empty. This is 2.5 hours later. So I started at 3 a.m. You know, I drive to the first location. So now it's, I want to say almost 7 in the morning now. You know, I started bright and early and now it's almost 7 in the morning. So now I've got to run through the woods through Pennsylvania, because originally my drop was interstate all the way to about 10-15 miles of, you know, side roads or whatever. But now I am in a different direction in Pennsylvania. So now I've got to drive through the woods and through the hills and stuff to get to where I got to go. So this turns into an ordeal, but I finally get there. I get there, I get checked in. They tell me where to drop my trailer. All right, I go drop my trailer, and you know, they give me my paperwork and tell me where to find my loaded trailer. So, all right, good deal. We're on track. Everything's still good. We've only lost a couple hours now. So I go find my loaded trailer. I hook up to it, hook my airlines. Everything's all hooked up. Walking around doing my pre-trip and all that. And I find that I've got a tire that's flat. So I'm like, wonderful. So I send a message because I've never dealt with this yet. Like I said, I'm fairly new to Schneider, so I've yet to have to deal with a flat tire. So here we go, learning experience. Send my message, make a phone call, and I get in contact with their road service or whatever, and they find somebody to come fix this tire. But they're several hours out. So I'm sitting and I'm waiting, and time is running now, and my 14-hour clock is ticking away. Things ain't looking so good now. 6 a.m. appointment time is getting very hard. It's looking like it's going to be near impossible. So I make a phone call, contact my BOA. They call it a business something advisor. What are they? Business BOA. Ah, gosh dang it. Now I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember what they call them. It's something advisor. They're not a dispatcher. A lot of companies have dispatchers or fleet managers or whatever. This is just somebody that you can call with questions. They can kind of help you out. I've only talked to mine one other time. It's not somebody that you should be in contact with very much, I don't think. I mean, for the most part, they should leave you alone. But anyway, I tell them, I'm like, look, like right now, I don't know that 6 a.m. is going to happen. We may have to push this. And now I'm concerned because I've got other loads scheduled behind this, because I try to keep myself scheduled out a little ways. But like I said, I usually plan and give myself a little buffer room. But we've lost at this point about half a day. That's a pretty big buffer. So anyway, she tells me to call her back once the tire's fixed. That way we can kind of make an assessment and get an ETA on when I think I'm going to make it. And I advise her, like, look, I'm going into the Northeast now. We're later into the day. Traffic's going to become a serious issue. So, she sticks with she understands, and she tells me, whenever we get it fixed, let her know when I think I can make it. So, tire guy shows up, pops a new tire on it. I'm ready to roll. I make my phone call. By this time I've already started looking. I've already started making a plan B. Where am I going now? Because anybody that runs up in the Northeast also knows, you kind of got to plan where you're going to stop at for the day. I mean, you've got to have a pretty solid plan because there's not a lot of places to stop. So, I decide then, I'm gonna have to run my 14-hour clock down to near nothing, because I don't want to stop too early in the day, because then I'm gonna have to do a 10-hour reset and then start extremely early in the morning, which is then going to create an issue with whether or not I'm going to have enough time to get to my next load and advance it to the point that I need to be in order to make it work out. So I got a lot of things kind of playing into this, but I realized that if I can make it to, I think it's the TA in Wellington, Connecticut, that will put me about, I think it was 2.5 hours away, and I can do a 10-hour reset and start at about 3:30 in the morning, and I should be able to make it by 6. So I had told my BOA, I said, give me an hour buffer. If we can get an hour buffer, I should be good, based on traffic. So she said she'd see what she can do, and so I took off. So I made it to Wellington, Connecticut, the TA there. At this point now, I had to skip my fuel stop because I don't have time to stop. Fortunately for me, I usually keep enough fuel in the truck that if something like this happens, I can push on. So I had enough fuel that I could push on, and I went on to the TA in Connecticut. So I do a 10-hour break, and I did it almost to the minute. It took every minute of my 14 to get there, and then I did a 10-hour break, which I'm telling you, I pretty much started my clock the second it reset, and I hopped on the highway, and I made it to Salem, New Hampshire. And I pulled into their parking lot right at 6 a.m. Like, if I was shooting, if I didn't have that buffer, which they did end up giving me a buffer, they gave me an hour leeway in there. But man, like, I don't like running like that, and it makes for a very long day, which then drags into another day, So with that all being said, there is a little something I want to add to this. So if you're not prepared for stuff like this, it can wreck you in a hurry. Like, if you're one of them people that can't overcome obstacles or circumstances, you're going to have issues. Like, and not just in this industry, probably in a lot of industries, but that is one thing. Like, there's not a lot of bad days, and I don't want to necessarily call it a bad day. I want to really lean more towards a challenging day. It was a challenging day. But yeah, those are the days that'll make you or break you. If you're one of them people that just like, oh, this sucks, it ain't gonna work, now I can't make it, cancel all my loads, So if you're one of those kind of people, leasing a truck's probably not gonna work for you. You're just not gonna make it. Like, you got to be able to overcome. You got to be able to push through. You got to be able to do what most people ain't willing to do. A lot of guys probably would have been like, man, I started at 3. I'm just going to call it quits. I'll park up here, we'll figure it out, you know. The load will get there when it gets there, you know. Like, if you have that kind of attitude, then a lot of times it's going to create issues with you down the road. So with that being said, you know, that's just one of them things. I just wanted to come to y'all and kind of give y'all an instance of something that happened to me and kind of how I dealt with it. Now granted, I will say one thing. If Schneider would allow us to do split shifts, I wouldn't have been racing my 14-hour clock. Now, granted, I still would have had a late day. And, you know, it might have pushed my clock a little bit. But the thing about being able to run a split, because I did put myself in sleeper berth the whole time I was waiting for a service guy to come to the shipper, you know. So I could have done a split shift. Legally, I could have done a split shift, and that would have paused my 14-hour clock, and then I wouldn't have had to race to the TA in Wellington, Connecticut. So, but anyway, I got kind of sidetracked with that. Yeah, Schneider don't let us do split shifts. I wish they did. They don't. There's no way to do it on their clock. So I asked about it in orientation. They said they don't do them. They said we shouldn't need to do them, which I think is kind of bogus, because if you make a delivery first thing in the morning and then you have a pickup scheduled for late in the evening, you can't. Like, you can't even schedule something like that, because there's no way to do it. And I've seen instances where there's loads that I would have delivered at like 7 a.m. and there was a really good load that I wanted, but it didn't pick up till 10 in the evening. Like, there's no way, there was no way for me to get that load, because I can't do a split. If I could have done a split shift, I could have delivered my load, went to a truck stop, put myself in sleeper berth, crawled in the sleeper, took a nap, you know, hung out, and, you know, then went and picked it up. But, you know, anyway, I'm rambling on about something else, got off the subject. So split shifts is a whole nother conversation we can have later on. But anyway, yeah, you got to be willing to overcome some things. You got to be able to kind of make decisions on the fly once in a while. And if you can't do that, you're going to struggle, man. So I'm just wishing all y'all the best luck, trying to give you a little advice out here. But anyway, I've rambled on too long already, so I just wanted to give y'all another video. Hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, put a comment below. So yeah, y'all have a good day, and I'll see you on the next one.